I'm not sure how to say this, but I lost the job. We were down to having like a few weeks worth of savings left in the bank account. I'll do anything to keep the lights on.
Jonah, dude, I am super grateful to have you on the podcast because this is a very special podcast. This is my 200th episode. This is episode number 200, which I am super glad to have you on for because it's a big milestone in my podcasting business. So glad to have you on and celebrate the 200th episode.
I'm so excited to join you for your 200th episode as well.
For those that don't know or are not in on the joke, there was a bet that I couldn't get to my 200 episodes. So this is episode number 2, but I'm calling it my 200th episode to win a bet. But that's not what people are here for. People are here because, Jonah, dude, I've been seeing your growth, which many have been saying an astronomically fast growth. I've been seeing some posts about you sharing your story of, quitting a job, not knowing what was coming next. And here you are with a team. You're doing all kinds of stuff with the high-level community. People are talking about you. And on a topic of scale, I'm sure you've probably run into a lot of things and a lot of challenges at this kind of quick growth. So I'm happy to have you here and for you to share that story, dude.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to share it. So I'm Jonah. I'm based in the UK, hence my accent. And what I'm doing now is, I guess, like a high-level implementation agency. It's not a VA agency, so to speak. Like, we actually map out the projects, we scope out the projects, we build everything with you, more like strategic partner style implementation and fulfillment services for mostly other agency owners in the high-level space. We don't currently do that much work with end businesses. We typically partner with other agencies, and we become their internal fulfillment team for their snapshots, their workflows, their fixing stuff that's broken, etc.
What kind of led you down that?
I enjoy building things. I enjoy fixing things, and that's pretty much the essence of what we do. Is just building and fixing. There's you say that it's everything. There is a lot of stuff that we don't do. So we don't do like design work. We don't do copywriting. We're not going to run your advertising for you. We're not going to generate leads for you. We're not going to do your sales call. Like, there's lots of stuff that we're not going to do. We build systems and we fix broken systems inside of high-level.
Yeah, the operations, leaving lots of room for the agency owner to put their vision of what on top. Yeah. Cool, man. So, all right, so that's how you got to with team doing systems and operations. Why don't you walk us through how you got to this point from starting from nothing, man? Because I am super curious.
So, first of all, I ran my own agency for 7 years. I started it when I was 17, and I was fresh out of high school / college. I was technically kicked out of high school because I was a bit of a nuisance and a troublesome student.
I would never have guessed.
I know. I was a bit of a troublesome student in high school. And a big part of the reason I was a troublesome student is I'd already set my sights on running my own business. So in my mind, I'm like, I don't need school. I don't need exams. I don't need grades. I just want to get out and start doing my own thing. And so I was kicked out of school because I was a bit of a nuisance. I then wasn't quite ready to actually start my own thing, because I wasn't sure what that was going to be straight away. So I actually enrolled in college for a very brief few months, and I decided to study business because I thought at least I might be interested in it.
Was that like your parents kind of pushing you down? Like, what, you just got out of school, like, what did they think of that?
They weren't super impressed.
No.
They weren't super impressed. College for us in the UK is different to college in the US and maybe Canada as well. College is the 2 years between high school and university for us. In the US, college is university, basically. So my college was just that 2-year gap in between high school and university. It was college that I then dropped out of a few months in because I just thought this is just as bad as school was, and I'm really not interested. So I left, and the thing I started doing was building websites for people. I'd already been playing around with building websites, and I built my first site for £100 for someone I already knew. And that was the very start of what became an agency. Now, at the time, I was 17. I'm now 27. It's 10 years ago. At the time, no one was talking about agencies on social media. It wasn't a thing that I was even aware of. So I was just building websites for people and hoping to get paid. That then evolved into what did become an actual agency over the course of a number of years. And I went through doing websites to branding to photography, videography, copywriting, a whole array of different services.
Like just yourself, or like you were hiring people, or
I hired a new person each time we introduced a new service. So I would find someone that is a photographer to do the photography, and I would find someone that is a logo designer to do the branding. And
so that's a more actual traditional agency, because a lot of people use this term agency, but if you actually go back in time, even before 10 years, an agency really was that they were a talent agency, and they would get freelancers. They would have people that weren't necessarily on staff. So that's interesting, because like agencies, we now think you hire employees, you hire VAs, and it's more your model. Okay, that's cool. Hey, so you're hiring people?
So that's what I was doing, and that's how it was going. We did that for several years. And then after those few years, we started getting feedback from clients, which was, we love your work. We love the website. We love the photos. You guys are clearly very good at what you do, but it hasn't actually helped us grow our business. We've got a lovely looking website and lovely looking photos, but it hasn't actually translated itself into cash for us. And we don't really know why. And so these clients weren't coming to us criticizing our work. They were coming to us with questions and like, what is it that we're missing? We've spent all this money on this website and everything, but that hasn't seemed to have mattered. And we're kind of just genuinely confused. And at the time, so was I. Because I thought, well, obviously, if you've got a nice website, then like, what more could you need? So that's pretty much where we were. And I figured, actually, these clients that we're working with, they haven't changed anything about the rest of their marketing. They're kind of just, it seems like they're expecting website traffic to just appear out of nowhere because it looks nice, because the site looks nice. So I thought, well, clearly there's an opportunity there for us to introduce another service into the mix. And that became paid advertising. Now, this was the last service that we introduced, and it was actually the beginning of us getting rid of all the other services. When we introduced paid advertising and we started seeing some results, and I personally enjoyed paid advertising as well, I thought, well, what if we just did this? What if we just did paid advertising and we dropped the branding, we dropped the photos, we dropped all like creating all these websites and everything. We just do paid ads, probably funnels, because we need some place for us to direct traffic to, and I just did that. And it was at that time where we were kind of making this transition that I also figured that we probably need a CRM system. And it was then that I found HighLevel in 2020, and I've been using HighLevel since then.
So that's just interesting, and I really like that. So if I'm hearing you right, you're saying when the ads came, the light bulb moment was that the reason why we're doing all of this, photos and websites, was to generate money, and you realized that money was generated from those direct ads, and then that changed. That's a really important point. One thing I always talk about is the money line, which is anything that you do that's not connected to the money getting in their pocket, it's only potential value. So that's cool. So what was the, did you find it hard to get rid of it? Or was it kind of like, oh, we're making money for people, like 180 switch? Or was it kind of like but we really like these websites. I really like doing the photos. Was there any kind of hardship making that switch to it?
So for us, there wasn't really much hardship with the photos and videos. There wasn't much hardship with the branding. The only sticky point was the websites, because I did feel as if I enjoyed making websites. I didn't really enjoy the photos. I wasn't really involved in doing the photos either, so maybe that helped. And I wasn't really involved in doing the branding, so that probably helped too. But I also thought these things feel furthest away from what we now refer to as the money line. I learned this term from you. But these things feel like they're furthest away from the money line. And for any photographers and branding experts out there, I apologize. It's just how I felt at the time. And you're more than welcome to disagree. But for me at the time, that was my interpretation of everything that we were doing. And I felt I quite enjoy the websites. And that's why I think we continued doing the funnels. I was able to make it make sense in my mind. Like, okay, we're not going to do full websites anymore, but we are going to use our website building skills to make nice funnels instead and still simplify what is otherwise quite a complex endeavor to create a whole website for someone. We're going to simplify that and consolidate that down into just making like 2 or 3 page funnels instead.
And what I'm saying, I don't think you're knocking photography. What I always call it is I don't say it's not worth anything. It's potential value.
Sure.
And well, if it's potential value, it's still valuable. It's just you need something to give it value. Yeah. So a ads to a funnel to a website to a sales page is great. Now, how do we make it better? How do we make it more personal? How do we make it get the right feel? How do we make it more trust? Photos, content, all of that other stuff. But if you're dealing with small businesses, which I'm assuming you were because you were, still starting out, those people need the main thing first before. So yeah.
Absolutely. So that's pretty much where we were. That's why we made the pivot. This was like 3 or 4 years into doing everything else first. And then we introduced paid ads and then we pivoted. And it was then that I decided that we needed a CRM system and we found HighLevel, and that was 2020. And we've been using HighLevel heavily since then. It was 2024, January 24, that I then had the opportunity to join the team at Extendly. So by that point, I'd been running the agency for 7 years. And now for the first time in my life, had the opportunity to do something else. I had never done anything other than run my agency prior to that point. And I found myself now like taking a job, which is a really interesting pivot, given that I remembered vividly, and I still do, me in school being a troublesome student because I decided I didn't ever want to have a job. I wanted to work for myself. So now I found myself going for a job instead after 7 years.
I was in the same situation, had the agency. I went on a very similar journey too. It was a content marketing inbound. And the only thing I did different is I never got to the ads part. I stopped my agency. When I stopped, it was to go take jobs and work for agencies. So you took the job in there. What was kind of like going through your head there? Were you feeling like it was a step back while you're doing that?
Yeah, it kind of did feel like it could potentially be a step back. What it was is a combination of things, really. I had an email from Extendly to say that we're hiring. I wouldn't normally pay that any attention at all, but for some reason on that day I did. And I have my hunch as to why. It was just a very subconscious thing at the time I didn't think of. But looking back to it now, that there's probably a couple of factors that piqued my curiosity more than normal. But when I did open up the email and I looked at the roles, the very first one was customer success. And underneath it was like a brief description which said, we're looking for people that have experience running an agency. So immediately light bulb goes off in my head. I'm like, oh, this is potentially me. And has lots of experience using HighLevel. And I'm like, well, these are the only 2 things I know anything about at this point. Because like running an agency and using HighLevel, I've never done anything else. The only other thing I've done is be a nuisance at school. So I thought, well, this sounds like if there's a perfect job for me out there, this might be it. and so it definitely piqued my interest. Now, the reason that I think it piqued my interest is a couple of things. The biggest one being that we were expecting a baby at the time. We just recently found out that we're expecting a baby. And on the job description, the expected salary was equal to or more than what I was currently bringing home from my agency. And so I think that was the biggest driving factor, to be honest. And I'm thinking, right, I've been doing this agency for a long time. It's currently fine. We've got clients, we've got team members. Things are going like pretty smoothly. It feels like there's a constant level of stress involved with it though. Like you always got like an elevated level of stress. Um, and I think at the time it had been like a little bit rockier than usual, nothing major, but I'm just like, is this the thing that I see myself continuing to do for another several years and supporting my family on and being like heavily dependent on?
7 years. Think about that. 7 years is a friggin' long time.
Yeah.
And the problems with a lot of things is the forever. Like a friendship there's nothing wrong with having a friendship, but believing that a friendship is going to be forever causes a lot of problems. People grow, they go in different directions. And I appreciate you being vulnerable, because when I see a lot of agencies, that's where the heart comes, is when people get stuck feeling like this is the thing that has to work. Being able to let go of certain opportunities so that you can expand your skills is an important one.
Absolutely. Yeah. So for me it was tricky because my agency was my baby. Again, it's the only thing I've ever done. Is I invested my entire working career from the age of 17 into this agency. And so the thought of leaving it behind or closing it down or whatever was not something I was excited to do in the slightest. And it was really only the fact that there was like bigger things looming, new baby. We just bought a house as well. Or I forget the exact timelines, but like we're in the process of buying a house, or thereabouts. There's lots of stuff, big things changing in our lives. And I thought, been doing this for a long time already. It's always felt a little bit more stressful than I really wanted to. It's currently feeling a little bit rockier than I'd like. Is this the thing that I really see myself depending on and continuing to grow with as I go into this next chapter of my life? And to be honest, I just wasn't completely sure. I just wasn't completely sure if I was going to continue enjoying it as much as I would like to, with the added stress of having a child, having a house, etc., etc. And so I
Cool.
took the plunge and went for it.
So what was the thing that you maybe picked up from that you weren't kind of expecting, thinking, I'm taking a job?
I think I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. I actually found myself enjoying it a lot more than I did running the agency, because I had a big thing actually, I think, was just that much less stress. Like that constant level of stress just like depleted and was gone. Like I just need to show up and join these Zoom calls every day and talk about things I am experienced with and I know about, and help people and talk to cool people. But I could do that all day long. Like no problem at all. This is great. So I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. I thought it would be really annoying and tedious and really boring. And it just wasn't. And I think that's because it resonated with the skills and experience and things I'm actually passionate about. For me, it was a really good sort of almost like match made in heaven, so to speak. I don't want to jazz it up too much, but I was able to clock in each day, feel like I had a sense of meaning and a sense of purpose, and feel like I was actually good at doing the job itself as well. And all of that gave me a lot of satisfaction throughout my whole time there.
Dude, being in the agencies and in business too, right? Sometimes it's small little pivots in people's businesses. And if you have the years of experience running a business, and now you're in a spot where, you're helping agencies on the beginning of their journey, like that's the same reason I do it. So imagine getting paid to do that every day. I could see the appeal in that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I left Extendly, funnily enough, it wasn't my choice. It was I left Extendly sooner than I was thinking I might, and it was a little bit of a surprise. My specific role being in the UK, covering both the US and European and rest of world time zones, the user base is very heavily US, Canada. It perhaps may have shifted since, but at the time, it basically just, they didn't feel as if they really needed me full time anymore. And they also couldn't justify having me part time or less because it just kind of didn't make any sense. So on July 2nd, basically, it was my last day at Extendly. And July 3rd was my first day on my own. And at the time, we had the baby now, we had the house, we just finished renovating the house, and we just paid the deposit for our wedding. And we were down to having like a few weeks worth of savings left in the bank account. And I'd done my calculations, and I decided that that's fine. It's not a great position to be in at any point. But I figured it's fine because I know that I'm bringing in this much per month. This is my salary. And between now and the wedding and between now and like this time next year, like we're still fine financially because I know what the cash flow is. But it was in that exact moment in time that I lost the only source of income that we had. And that put us in a really tricky situation overnight, with mortgage, wedding now to pay for, baby to feed, bills to pay, to keep on top of. And it really created a lot of stress very quickly. As much as I understood and appreciated and could not argue with the reasoning for me leaving Extendly, but there's no qualms there. Like that's all okay, the reasoning, but at the same time, I had to face the reality of, okay, but like this kind of sucks still.
Are you the only person working? Or?
Yeah. So Paige, my wife, she had been working. She was on maternity leave. In the UK, maternity leave is like 9 months. So she was at the tail end of that maternity leave. In fact, I think she technically finished at the tail end of her maternity leave. We had mutually decided that actually she wouldn't need to go back to work if she didn't want to. Because again, financially, the money I was bringing in from Extendly was enough. And I thought, I can support the family. So she'd not worked for 9 months on maternity leave, which she does get paid for, a reduced salary. But then she thought, or we agreed together that we were in a position where she could resign if she wanted to. So she then resigned.
Oh,
And then I lost my job after the renovation and the wedding deposits and Paige resigning. And now I lose my job as well. It was like everything all at once at the same time. Really bad financial situation.
so what did you do? Like, okay, you get the news, man. What do you do after that? What was other than just fuck?
Yeah.
Just, all right,
That was the
after
first
that,
thing I
started
did.
to go, what is the second next thought that goes through your head?
So I leave the meeting with my manager at Extendly, where he gives me the bad news, and I ask him why and did I do anything wrong. He says no, it's nothing personal. It's just purely business decisions. I'm like, okay, kind of makes sense. I can't argue with that. I go and tell Paige, and she was in the next room. She hadn't heard the conversation, but I just walk out of my office, walk into the next room where she was with our baby boy, and I say, I'm not sure how to say this, but I lost the job. And her eyes just start welling up, kind of starts crying. She's not like uncontrollably sobbing, but emotional. And she's like, what are we going to do? Do I need to go back to work? Do we need to send Eli into like nursery or something? Like, how are we going to make sense of this? And I'm like, do I need to go get a job? Or she's asking, would I go and get a job somewhere like McDonald's, like literally anywhere? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do anything. I'll do anything to keep the lights on and pay the bills. Like if I need to go get a job somewhere random, then I'll do that. We had a few weeks worth of savings, and I basically said to Paige, I think I can make this okay. I kind of just reassured her and said, it's going to be okay. Like whatever I need to do, I'll make sure it's okay. And I thought, I can spend the next few weeks at least trying to get something going here. If this time next month, this isn't working, I'll get a job. But I've got this window of time where I can try and get some momentum going and kind of take a little bit of a gamble. Wasn't really in a position to be making any big gambles, but I had a few weeks worth of breathing room to try and make something work with going to McDonald's or supermarket, stacking shelves, whatever, being my fallback if necessary.
In your heart, were you like, this is good, like we could make this work? Or was this like, I don't think it's going to work, but we got to try something?
I felt as if I was confident in being able to control as many variables as I could to make it work. I didn't know for sure that everything else would be stacked in my favor though. Like I knew that there'd be variables that I cannot control that would also influence it working or not. And so I knew that I was confident in being able to do everything I could to a good standard. I knew that I know that I know HighLevel well. I know I can help people with the platform. I've been doing it for a year and a half at Extendly. I've got a good track record there. All the customers I've dealt with there are really, really happy. Like I know that I can do what I do. I know I can do it well. And if I can get myself out there enough and show other people that I can do it well and I can help them and attract people in my direction, then I knew that I could make a good go of it and have a good chance of success. But if, for example, like the algorithm didn't like me or like, whatever, like other stuff is out there, or if it's like too competitive or it's too difficult to break through the noise, and I'm like, I don't know for sure that I can definitely overcome all of that. But if I do get that break and if I can kind of create the opportunity for myself, then I think that this could work.
That's it, man. I mean, I've been through a lot of difficult spots, and sometimes I'm on this can work. And then there's other times like, I don't got any other choice. But it sounds like what you did is saying you needed something that was still tangible to hold on to. You had 7 years running businesses.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
that's it. So what was your strategy for getting out there? Was that the coaching? Was that how you got into doing coaching and teaching, or like, how'd you start getting the word out?
Yeah, it's what led me there for sure. So the very next day, so I left. So my last day at Extendly was July 2nd. And July 3rd, it was even the same evening that I started reaching out to people. But certainly the next day, July 3rd onwards, I'm on my own. I'm like, okay, now I need to really figure this out pretty quick. Otherwise, we're in hot water and I'm going to go stack shelves. So what I did is I started reaching out to people that I already kind of knew, like I knew of. They didn't necessarily know me super well. Some of them did, some of them didn't. I just started reaching out to people, other agency owners. And this is the bit that I think a lot of people overlook. Actually, a lot of people would assume that you need to hit the ground running with an offer, a value ladder, a lead magnet, coaching calls, agency services. For me, that wasn't the case at all. I didn't start doing any of the stuff that I'm doing now on day one. What I did is I reached out to other agency owners and I said, hey, I've just left Extendly. I'm available. I can come and do any kind of contracting that you need, as much or as little as you want, and you pay me what you think is fair, just on an hourly basis. So it wasn't me kind of like being a business owner or being an agency owner. It was literally like, I'm going to come into your business effectively as like a VA, and I'll just do what, like, you just throw tasks at me, I'll do it. And so my strategy there was to do as many paid hours as possible each day, because I knew that by the end of that month, I had bills to pay. And if I didn't have the money to pay those bills, then we're screwed and none of this is going to work. So I was doing contracting inside of other people's agencies for between $20 to $40 an hour, which in the UK is kind of minimum wage. $20 an hour is kind of around about minimum wage-ish. And $40 an hour is obviously double that. So it's kind of at the lower end of what you might expect to earn in the UK specifically. I know in other parts of the world, it's obviously a lot more money, but $20 to $40 an hour. And I had like 3 or 4 of these contracting gigs going at one time. And I was just relentlessly doing as many paid hours as possible each day for each of these different gigs that I had. And that's how I kept the lights on that month. When the bills came around, that's how I was able to pay them. In addition to that, I obviously knew already that this is just like a necessary thing I need to do right now. It's not what I want to be doing forever. Like, I know I want to get into running an agency and running a business and stuff, but I'm not going to hit the ground running this month and just start doing that. So I was doing the contracting. In addition to all the hours I was doing each day, like 12 to 16 hours a day doing these hours to other people. I was then also responding to as many comments as I could inside of the Facebook groups, making my own posts in the Facebook groups. One of the things that I did that has resonated with people is I would take one question from the main Facebook group each day, and I'd make a video answering the question. So if Mike, you asked a question and it was like, how do I make a workflow that does this? I would open up Loom or Descript or whatever, and I'd say, hey guys, in this video today, I'm going to be answering Mike's question about how to build this workflow. I'd have your question on the screen at the beginning of the video, and then I would just transition into HighLevel and literally build the entire workflow that you're asking for. Then I'd stop the recording. I'd kind of cut it up and edit together like very quickly. And I'd post it as a post in the Facebook group. I would tag you in it with the video. And if there was a snapshot that I'd built, like even just like one workflow, I'd include that as a snapshot in the comments for other people to take and implement themselves. And I did that every single day, one of those videos every single day, in addition to just answering as many other questions as I possibly could in the comments. And it was that really broke me through that initial ceiling of noise. And people started reaching out to me and said, Jonah, I don't know where you've come from, but I'm seeing you everywhere. Like, you're answering every single post. You're making all these videos. Like, what on earth is going on? And it was that got me to the, or kind of got me closer to that escape velocity. And that was on top of doing as many paid hours for other people as possible.
But dude, that's a formula that I think a lot of people should steal. Friggin' well done, dude. That's impressive, because man, I have massive respect, because it's not as easy to do as you're explaining here. It's simple, but it's hard.
Yeah, simple, not easy. Yeah, but the reality was for me is that I had my back against the wall. It's like I as much as stacking shelves is fine and a perfectly respectable job, that's not the route I wanted to go. And I needed to make it work this month, otherwise it wasn't going to work at all, pretty much. So I'm like, I'm putting in all of the effort. Every ounce of energy I have each day is being just poured into this relentlessly. And that's what it took.
What was there kind of like this moment happened and then that finally kind of clicked when you started picking up steam? Like, when did you feel like we're not 1 month away from disaster?
Mm-hmm, sure. So between July and October, I started picking up more and more and more of this contracting work. And I went from having no work to do at all on July 3rd to now having more work than I can possibly handle. And when I say work, what I'm referring to is things that I was doing for people. Not all of it was paid. I was doing my contracting hours, which were paid, and that was like the necessary baseline of income I needed. But then I was doing other things that were kind of for free, and I was just like helping people out. And I'm just like with this passion and this drive just for helping as many people as possible, as much as I possibly can. I was taking on free projects, very low paid projects, anything I was basically saying yes to. And so I got myself to a point where I'm like really, really stressed. Like I've now got I've committed to more things than I can manage. And during those few months, one of the things I was doing in the background is trying to build up my income from HighLevel's affiliate program. And it was in October that I logged into my dashboard and I had $900 in there, which was like pending payout for the following month of November. The way HighLevel's affiliate program works is all the money you earn in October, for example, gets paid out in the middle of November. So I'm at the end of October now. I'm really super stressed. I've committed to more stuff I can manage. And I see I've got $900 coming in 2 weeks. And so in my mind, that was a really important pivoting point, because I realized I could do $900 less contracting in November and still make the same money. And so that's what I did. If you go back to my personal profile on Facebook on beginning of November, the first few days of November, you'll see I made a post about making November the month of saying no more often.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Yep. And I called it No-vember, which I thought was really clever. And the only reason I was able to do that, partly is because I was really stressed and I felt like I really had to do something. I had to stop saying yes to as many different things, but I was able to afford to do that while still being in a really difficult financial position because I knew I had at least $900 coming in from the affiliate program.
There's a really interesting. I was a photographer for many years, and the pivotal moment that a lot of photographers talk about is when you're able to see the light. And what we mean by seeing the light, what do you mean? You can see it; it's all around, right? What they mean is that when you look at a photo, or you look at just anything, you start looking at a person's face and go, "Hey, oh, there's a light source here, and it's a soft light, and it's kind of filling in here, or it's bouncing off there." You don't just look at something as lit or unlit. You kind of actually can see where the light's coming from and how it's shaping things.
Yeah.
And when you start being able to see a photo and break it down by that light, it changes how you photograph things. And I'm saying this because it sounds like you are working your butt off. You're working, doing the thing, and then all of a sudden you're kind of seeing, wait, here's where value can also be created. You can start seeing, well, by helping people out, you can get that affiliates, and now I can start seeing the money, the money light, or the light money, we'll call it there. Yeah. Can you see? Does that sound like a right kind of an analogy? It's like you started seeing the money and where it's coming from differently.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think really it's just like there was an amount of money coming in from some other source that I could use to replace where I was already getting the money, like currently getting the money from. I'm like, well, I'm exerting all this energy and all this effort to do all this contracting. If I could do a little bit less of that, I could do more of my own stuff. I could set up my own community. I could start doing my own coaching calls. I could start offering more of my own other services, slightly more expensive services. I could start kind of respecting myself and my time a bit better than I currently am. And it's that allowed me to really, was that $900 check from HighLevel's affiliate program. So the beginning of November was the beginning of my community. It was the beginning of my daily group coaching calls. Which I'm running now, is the daily group calls. The daily calls were fantastic as well, because I was spending a lot of time getting onto individual Zoom calls with people each and every day. If like someone needed help with this, I'd hop on for 15 minutes and help them figure it out. Someone else needed help with a different problem, I'd say, yeah, I can help you. Spend half an hour there. And when I was able to introduce the daily calls, instead of having all these individual Zoom calls with people throughout the day that was eating up a lot of time, I just started inviting everyone into the call that was happening later that day. And so I was also able to consolidate not just like where I'm earning money from and the amount of effort that it was taking to earn that money. I was also able to consolidate where I'm spending my time. And instead of having 5 different Zoom meetings with 5 different people, I could invite 5 people onto one call and help them all at once. And so I was able to get a lot more of my time back very quickly in that month of November.
When did you make kind of the next switch to get you to running the team?
In January, we hired I say we, it's obviously me on my own.
The royal we.
The royal we, yes. Was January. I hired the first team member. And that was Leah. And then it was Amiso, who came through your recommendation, Mike. Amiso's fantastic. Leah's fantastic as well. Amiso is fantastic. I already knew Leah. The thing with Leah is she actually worked with me in my previous agency a few years prior. And I brought her on board to, as soon as I was able to, because she's fantastic. Amiso was then the next person I hired to help with client fulfillment and projects and snapshots and stuff like this. She's absolutely brilliant. And then now we're a team of 6, 7, including me. And at the time of recording this, it's the 10th of August. So between January and August, we've grown, not rapidly, in terms of team size. It's still a small team. But over this year so far, we've grown to a team of 7.
Was it all kind of roses and all that? Like, what were some of the challenges of just now having 6 people on there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So having stuff to do has not been a problem. Thankfully, there's there's been an abundance of opportunities and projects and things coming in on a pretty regular basis. So there's been no shortage of things to do. Certainly, though, the teething pains, initially, the very first teething pain is always relinquishing some control and my involvement in actually doing the work. Because at this point, or prior to this point, I'm making the content, reaching out to people, talking to people, making posts and videos, and being very active in the communities on Facebook, posting videos onto YouTube, having the sales calls and discovery calls, the mapping sessions, the audits, and then doing the work and delivering the project, doing everything all on my own. And relinquishing control of the project itself felt like relinquishing control of like the most important bit. It's like, okay, now we've got a client and they've paid and everything. Now this is the bit that we really need to like get right and do it as well as possible. And in my mind, I'm obviously the best person in the world to do that job. But at the same time, I know that I can't really let my foot off the gas when it comes to continuing to generate more business and more discovery calls and so on. And so when I got to a point of feeling really torn between these two different directions of generating the business and delivering the business, that's when I hired a miso. And it was at that point that I started relinquishing some control. And I kind of had to get used to that a little bit. Now, I did have experience with this from my first agency because I had a team with the old agency as well. So I kind of knew what that was like. But now,
but you were giving jobs that you had no ability to do. It's a little different when you can do it.
Yeah. So with that's a great distinction. So with the old agency, I was delegating jobs that I wouldn't have been able to do even on a good day. Whereas now I'm relinquishing control and delegating jobs that I actually can do, I can do well, I enjoy doing, and I'm asking someone else to do it instead. And so for me, that was definitely a weird transition. And miso's great in just rolling with the punches in that regard.
She's a hard worker.
Because I was able to give her jobs that I'd already started. I was already halfway through. We didn't have a map necessarily, or at least not a very good one. And I was able to give her a job that felt like a little bit like disconnected, and she had to just figure out like what the hell's going on here. And she did a fantastic job. And so over that first month-ish, we were able to work through a lot of that. The half-baked projects that I'd given her, we were able to work through together. The new projects that were coming in, I was able just to give her fresh, and she started from the very beginning all the way through. And so, we've got a good, it's a good dynamic now. And the team is bigger now as well. There's more people too now, but it was an interesting...
Getting the right people is very difficult. And it's not often that you get a unicorn that can come in and just give them ambiguity, because most people you hire are not going to be able to do it. Even skilled people, hardworking people. And, it's kind of like, they say, well, you got lucky. Because like, I know miso, like definitely was like, I told her a long time ago, it's like, whatever you're making now, like we're going to double it or triple it. And your potential is even higher than you think.
Yeah.
You could say it was lucky, but I mean, if you go back to the July, back against the wall, you had to create that opportunity. You had to create that momentum that people go, oh, people like miso also probably have options. I think there have been a lot of people that would have maybe picked her up, but she kind of fit in with you because winners spot winning teams. Let's just put it. You have 6 people. Are you fully out of doing the work now, or are you still? What areas are you still kind of holding on to?
I actually get teased on a regular basis for showing up to team meetings just to ask questions. And so we do client fulfillment meetings twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. We were doing it on Fridays as well. We've just dropped the Friday client fulfillment meeting in place of sending out weekly client updates instead. So we were now meeting twice a week, Mondays, Thursdays. I join these calls, but I don't run the calls. And I don't bring anything to the calls. I'm just there in attendance, and I'll just ask questions about things. And this is what I get teased about, because the rest of the team have it, miso and Mike and so on, have it just under control and managed. And I show up knowing what we're working towards with each client, and if there's been any like noteworthy problems or milestones or whatever, then I'll be aware of those things. But I'm not in the weeds. I'm not in the weeds of actually doing work. And so I'll ask questions, and they were like, Jonah, we've got this taken care of. Like, you don't need to worry. It's fine. You don't need to worry about that. We've already did that like 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, have we done this yet? Or, did we figure this out for the client? Like, yes, it's fine. It's taken care of. And so they've started teasing me about that. And they're now simply referring to me as being an influencer, which makes me laugh, because I know that although that's kind of what I'm trying to work towards, I guess, from like the marketing side of things, I know it's still very early days. I'm a very long way from being an influencer.
So the question that I would have then from this is, what allows you to walk away and not stress out?
Yeah. So I think having a regular cadence of team meetings is important. I join pretty much all of those meetings unless I happen to be traveling or just literally not available. But I'm there for all those meetings, even if I join from my phone, even if I am on the road, I'll still join. Like if I physically can, I'll be there. So for me, that's really important, because I'm able to get like the big milestones, the big problems, the big bottlenecks, as they come up. The other thing is we do weekly updates for each of our clients. So every single Friday / over the weekend, sort of in general, by the end of each week, we'll send out an update. There's a Loom video. It's a written update. It's what have we done this week? What are we going to do next week? All of the tasks are tracked inside of Asana, we use as our project management tool. So I pretty much have all the visibility that I could ever need. If I ever wanted to drill down into a very specific task, I can do that. Or if I just want to have like a general overview of where we are, then I'm on the meetings twice a week anyway, so I get that. And then if I want to get a pulse check as to how things have been progressing week by week, then I can go look at those weekly updates myself. Even though they're designed for the clients, I can open those up and go, oh, cool. Yeah. Okay, nice. Like we've done this whole chunk of work this last 7 days.
It's a big thing that people don't realize, is that if you're the worker yourself and you don't want to be micromanaged, having an accountability paper trail actually lets people like you stay away, because when you know that there's a paper trail and you can dig in, and the few times you do dig in or on those meetings, you can see what's being done.
Yep.
You all of a sudden stop needing it. Now, does that mean you get, oh, we don't need to it, we just trust each other? It's like, no, we trust the process, the documentation, the auditing, like that accountability layer is the foundation of being able to trust, because as long as we do that, then you don't need to use it.
The saying there that I know is having and not needing is better than needing and not having.
Yeah.
So basically what we've got here is we've got the systems in place to keep track of tasks, projects, progress. There's a layer of accountability naturally built into all of that. If for example, a project starts to get off track, or if I want to check, like, what did we say we were going to do last week versus what have we done this week? I can see that. Like, I know I can go and look at that literally any time. If a project if it started to go off track a little bit, it does not take long to figure out exactly where, when, and why it's gone off track. Who's responsible? What went wrong? What do we need to fix? Where can I step in to help? And we don't need, like, I don't need the team to bring me up to speed from day one and like give me all the context. Like, it's very easy for me to dip in and out and be as involved as needed when needed, without the team having to like onboard me into the whole project just to know what's going on. So I think that's really, really important to have that sort of a system and a process in place.
It's one of those things we always, as in business, as the owner or as the worker, we always fear accountability. But when you have accountability, things just get faster. Things just do better with full accountability. What else there have we not been talking about here when it comes to like what are some of the kind of myths that people have with running an agency? They see you on the outside, they go, okay, yeah, he's got a team, yeah, he's got lots of clients, and he's being it's all roses and all that. What are the things that we're not talking about in the agency world when it comes to bringing on teams, bringing people together, and to do meaningful work?
Sure. I think creating an environment where your team can excel and be confident in just being able to do their job well is really important. I actually spoke to, I don't think she'll mind me saying this, but a miso today, and it was just a check-in call. I like to try and do check-in calls with each team member individually on a sort of a semi-regular basis, just to say, how are you doing? Are you happy? Stressed? How are you feeling? Can I help with anything? And so Amisa and I had one of those calls, and she said, you know what? I'm really happy. And I've never felt more confident in showing up to work each day and being able to do a good job. I feel like I've, got accountability, but also autonomy, and I can just show up, do my best work, know what I'm doing. I know that there's support available if I need it. And I think creating that sort of an environment for your team is super, super important. And so it was very encouraging to hear that from one of the team members. So that definitely put a smile on my face. The other thing as well, just taking a completely different angle, completely different topic, is in the agency world, a lot of the work that we do is custom, whether it's websites, paid ads, photography, building snapshots and building workflows and stuff. It's all very custom. And one of the traps that I see people fall into, and that I've been in myself, is because the work is custom, everything around the work also needs to be custom. And that's where you end up spending enormous amounts of time generating like custom proposals and custom pricing and having all these like long conversations to figure out what the scope is going to be. And the actual delivery of the work is not standardized. It feels impossible to have SOPs and so on. And so one of the things that we've been spending a lot of time doing is, although the nature of each individual project that we do is obviously different from each other, we're not building the exact same system for every single client. What we've been doing is we've been trying to productize each of the individual elements around the work itself as much as possible. So one of the things that we've implemented only quite recently is mandatory mapping. So the idea of doing a mapping call for some people is a new idea. It wasn't a new idea for us. We were doing mapping sessions, but we were still bringing in some projects where the client themselves had already done the mapping, and they had their own map. They had their own brief. They brought everything to the table. And on the surface, it sounds like it'd be really helpful and probably a good thing, because you can just roll straight into doing the work. They just give us a price and we'll get started. And so that for us wasn't completely standardized. It was still a little bit custom. Like sometimes we'd do mapping, sometimes we wouldn't. And what we've decided more recently is no, we're gonna do mapping every single time. Like we're standardizing this piece of the process, because we've found that even if a client does bring their own map, it's not necessarily going to be useful enough for us to build from.
You could say, I would call it, it's wrong.
Probably.
I want to make sure people really get this. Like a lot of times, there's a lot of things that I teach about when it comes to naming conventions and things. People go, well, for my project and for this situation, it would actually be better if we did it this way. And I'm like, you're probably right. But what I know is the way that I do things, I can do it the same way for every project and it will always work. And what that allows me, when we're talking about scale, how do you scale something? How do you scale custom work? Because as you said, there's always going to be custom. Well, what you can do is you can scale the process of custom work, meaning whether we're working on a custom project, our agency account day to day, or a snapshot, which is a repeatable system, since we build the same way, we map the same way, we naming convention the same way, that means that someone who learned how to build a snapshot can still do custom work. Our custom work people can still help out on the snapshot. And it's one of those things of like, the best way is not the best way to scale, is to scale a thing. The best way means we've hyper optimized, and scaling is about not optimizing things. Scaling it's actually the opposite. It's about finding the path that works most consistently for most situations. And you dude, I'm gonna get on my I have to get off my soapbox, because you just said talking about the mapping, because sure, the client understands the map, but what's important is that our team understands. So
Exactly.
we map anyway.
Yeah.
Cool, man. And go on. Any other closing thoughts there before we wrap her up there for you?
Yeah, I mean, the mapping thing is super important, because if you start the project and you're like just 2 or 3 degrees off target, then it's not enough for you to necessarily notice the beginning. But as you get further like into the project and towards the end, you realize you're actually a whole mile off from where you were intending to go. So there's a lot that we've implemented to avoid that. Hence the weekly check-ins and the twice a week client fulfillment meetings and so on. Mandatory mapping.
Jonah, I've been learning a huge amount from this. I really appreciate that you've taken this time to share your story. And I thought we were going to talk real quick about your story, get through, and then talk more about the agency. But I think your story was really compelling, and it's something that I think a lot of people can really resonate with and learn from, is like the steps it takes to get to scale, that there's a lot that happens before the story even starts, right? I think a lot of people, you could give the advice that you gave on how you did it post Extendly, but if we didn't take that time and look at what happened before, that would have changed the difference, because someone didn't have all that experience, right? So I think it's really important for people to kind of see that there's going to be ups and downs in their agent. There's going to be projects that crash and burn. There's going to be things where you felt you invested 7 years of your life into and was a waste of time. And then you find out another 7 years later that all of that is what you draw on to get you this moment. So I really hope people get that from this and really take a lot. And I appreciate you for sharing it, man. Because it was and this another 7 years, dude. Where are you going to be from now, man? It's going to be exciting.
We'll see.
Cool, man. Thank you so much, dude. And we will definitely be talking more, and on maybe our 400th episode. So
I can't wait.
All right, take care, buddy.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much.